For today's video, one of my lovely patrons, Salvatore Zito, wants you to know that Bruce Dicker rubbed himself against all my books and now they're hot and moisty. Thanks for that one, Sal. Sal would also like you to know that if you're interested in joining a Facebook comic swap and trade and sell and buy group for hardcovers, omnibus, and all of that jazz, you can check out the Omnibuds Cafe. Just Google it or search Facebook in your search bar, and you can find it and join a community of like-minded trading collectors of hardcovers and things. If you would like to submit equally interesting and family-friendly catchphrases like Sal did today, please check out the Patreon. Links in the description below. And so with some of the tiers, you can make me say all kinds of good things. So without further ado, let's move on to these books. Hello, folks, and welcome back to our continuing nerd venture of the comic book realm. Today is going to be a fun one, just a quick little haul. It is a small haul, but of great whale value. If you don't know, on a lot of Facebook groups, the term whale gets thrown around a lot, like, you know, which comic books or which omnibus are becoming whales now are really expensive. So this is a slight haul in volume, but a strong haul to my heart in terms of quality and of picking up some interesting things. So I'm just going to blaze through some of these bad boys, show you what I got in the last, like, I don't know, month or so. There's some very cool things in here and some unusual stuff. Well, at least one of them is unusual, and the other one's just kind of cool. So let's get to it first with a very, very thin omnibus that came out recently, but I am still excited to check it out. That is the Doctor Strange omnibus. This collects... What does this collect? This collects Strange Tales 110 through 111, as well as 114 through 146, and the Amazing Spider-Man Annual Number 2, which you can see all lovingly displayed on the back over here. As I got the direct market variant, which sold out very quickly, and I think then is not really available in that many places. I don't do this for all omnibus. In case you're unawares, there are normal variants, or there are normal covers and direct market variants for many Omni that Marvel does. And usually, unfortunately, in my opinion, usually the normal cover is like a redo or a redraw or some modern sort of equivalent of it. And then the direct market variant is usually the original artwork from something. So this has Steve Ditko artwork on the front from, it's basically just the cover of Strange Tales 146 right here, which is awesome because the end of Strange Tales run on this is like super psychedelic and weird. Yeah, it's a unfortunate thing that if you are into the original art, like if you want to celebrate the run, you would either have to pay a little more, or if you miss it on the original sale, you know, try to find a secondhand copy often of the DM ones. I know the Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu Omnibus Volume 1 had that problem, where people wanted the Starlin version. I believe it was Jim Starlin did the DM cover, and it sold out really quickly, and then it's like you were kind of left with a funky one, which is the one that I had because I don't really care about that character as much. But yeah, Strange Tales on the omnibus for Doctor Strange. I have not read very much Doctor Strange. I know it's something that's cool to me. I mean, the movie's coming out pretty soon. Sort of psychedelic meditation powers are not something that I think is in the rest of the Marvel Universe that much. And Steve Ditko's art on this especially is super trippy and interesting. You know, this was a time when Stan Lee was ostensibly writing everything, but kind of more like editing and overseeing Marvel and letting Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko's imagination go like fucking bonanzas, and these guys produce some amazing, crazy stuff. So I'm looking forward to reading through this. I'm going to try to read through it sometime in the next month or so we can have like so I can do a channel review of it around the movie, sometime around, which I think comes out like this first week of November, or the end of the first week of November, something like that. So it's not that thick. It's a $75 book, and it's pretty thin. You know, Marvel is getting questionably thin with some of their page counts. I don't really care. I mean, I'm not somebody who equates dollar value to length of pages. That's not my game. I'm more interested in equating, you know, in me buying things that I equate to be high quality and of interest to me in an artistic sense. So this is, I think, of very much interest to me in an artistic sense. So I'm just going to pick it up, you know, regardless almost of the price. Obviously, I have my limits, but to me, it's not, it's worth picking up. So I'm interested to check this out. It collects the Strange Tales magazine, which, in case you didn't know, at this point in time, you can see here, Doctor Strange was sharing the billing with Nick Fury. So the Jim Steranko and the Jack Kirby Stan Lee Shield stuff was also in Strange Tales, and then they both broke off to do their own solo magazines with a Nick Fury mag and a Doctor Strange mag. This only collects, part of the reason why it's so thin is that it only collects the Steve Ditko stuff. I understand why they chose to do it, and I kind of approve that they chose to do it, kind of going for like a collection that is just a contained Ditko Strange collection, because the stuff after this, there's more Strange Tales issues before there's a Strange solo series, but it's with different artists, I believe, and with maybe different scripters as well. So I definitely I'm down with them collecting all the Ditko stuff in one Omni. I think that's cool, and I think it makes sense. So I'm excited to grab this, and I am very hopeful that they continue the Strange Omni line, because there's tons of Strange stories out there that I would love to read and get more knowledge of. So I hope it's not one of their like one and done kind of things, but it seems like recently they've been committing to some of their projects, so I'm excited about it. Doctor Strange Omnibus, check it out. I don't think you can get the DM variant anymore, but it's pretty cool. Speaking of variants and such, that's a nice segue right into our second omnibus here, The Hands of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. Now this, I believe, is a John Cassaday cover. I love John Cassaday. He's a really awesome artist. I was not super wild about the direct market kind of like old school variant cover that I saw for this, so I decided to pass it up and just go for the regular and avoid the slight price hike and everything. But this is the second volume of the Master of Kung Fu Omni series. They're not that big. They're still at the $125 price point, sort of like the premium omnibus price point. This collects the Master of Kung Fu Solo Series 38 through 70, as well as Annual Number 1, with work from Doug Munch, Paul Galassi, Jim Craig, and Mike Zeck. A lot of cool art in here, I know, especially. So it's a very cool, like, Silver Age style time period, all from 1976 to 1978. So if you're into that time period, you know, it's something I'd like to talk about eventually, actually, is like breaking down comic time periods, because I don't believe that bronze, silver, modern, and whatever are very accurate, but I think from 1970, maybe like 5 or 6 to 1986 was like a particular time of comic books. A lot of kind of like more hard-boiled, like darker stories and stuff, and Shang-Chi definitely, you know, fits in that. It kind of has like a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of like a grindhouse kung fu aesthetic, which sort of fits again with grindhouse kind of like kung fu movies from the 70s and stuff. So I'm very excited to read through this. I think there's supposed to be 4 Omni of the Hands of Shang-Chi, and then there's also going to start being, I think there's 2 omnibus solicited for Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, which I believe is a black and white mag that Marvel put out in the 70s as well. And that might have been a Curtis Comics one, or a Curtis Magazine one, because I know Curtis, I think, was Marvel's magazine publishing company. I believe they put out the Savage Sword of Conan stuff, which was really Marvel, but was Curtis because of comics code regulations and stuff. So I don't actually know particularly who worked on that one or what the actual publishing arrangement of it was, but I believe that Shang-Chi is in that as well. So Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, the omnibus, I think the first one is supposed to come out later this year. So it's cool that they're collecting all of this kind of kung fu, like I said, like you know, 70s Kung-sploitation. I don't know what you would call it. That sounds like a really dirty word. But, you know, kind of like blaxploitation stuff, but with like kung fu stuff is that's what it reminds me of, at least. So very cool book. There is a direct market variant cover out there, but it wasn't really doing it for me, so I decided to go with this one, which I also did with the first one. I do wish for the first one I had gotten the Starlin, or I picked up the Starlin variant, because I do like the Starlin one. But yeah, another cool Omni from Marvel, and hopefully same thing with Doctor Strange. I am pretty certain that they're going to finish this out 1 through 4, because I think most of it's already been solicited, so I'm glad that Marvel is on top of their shit, because sometimes they're not. Next up is a reprint omnibus. If there's a trend going on, you can see there's been a lot of Marvel Omni released recently that I thought was interesting. This is the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2 omnibus reprint, collecting the part of the run from Stan Lee and John Romita Sr., which is Amazing Spider-Man 39 through 67, annuals 3 through 5, and the Spectacular Spider-Man number 1 and 2. To be honest with you, I don't know what Spectacular Spider-Man is. I only know about Amazing Spider-Man, but here's the book right here. It's nice and thick. You know, has the traditional Marvel Omnibus back where it shows all the covers and stuff. I picked this up, I think it was reprinted like 2 weeks ago, but I think people were saying that almost as soon as it went up, it either sold out or it went out of stock really quickly. I think there was maybe, people were thinking there was a printing error with some of it. I know with my book, the pages towards the end are a little bit sticky. So, Marvel, we've been doing something naughty over there. But I had to kind of like flip through the book and kind of like separate a little bit of the pages. It didn't seem like there was any damage or anything, and I thought some people were saying maybe it was a dust jacket printing error, but I couldn't see anything that was particularly wrong with it, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm jazzed about this. This is the run after Steve Ditko, I believe, left Spider-Man, because Ditko and Lee were the creators of Spider-Man in Amazing Fantasy 15, and then it went on to be the Amazing Spider-Man series. So this run picks up, I'm pretty sure, where Ditko left, and is kind of like the celebrated John Romita run from, I believe, when does it start? 1966 through 1968. So actually a little bit earlier than I thought. I thought this was maybe like later 60s into 70s, but this is like the kind of the second great run on Spider-Man. Late 60s, mid to late 60s, before a bunch of the other ones. I mean, I guess the great runs on Spider-Man are... I think Gil Kane had a run on Spider-Man, but I don't know when he had that. And then, obviously, the McFarlane run on Spider-Man, but that was like late 80s. So I don't really know Spider-Man in between like 1970 and 1989. I don't know who was working on it when, and what was good and what was not. Oh, I know the Roger Stern Spider-Man in the mid-80s. But yeah, this is like kind of classic Spider-Man. I believe that John Romita was the one who created and drew the Green Goblin for the first time. So that's on there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing a read-through of the whole Spider-Man thing once more of it is collected, or at least the things that I am interested, the pertinent Spider-Man Omni that I can get. So I haven't read very much Spider-Man at all, but I have collected some of it, just waiting for the right time to jump on this webhead. And this one is a big whale one, but a very small book in terms of size. I had to trade for this one because it is in the $200 around price point area, pretty pricey, possibly a little over, possibly a little under, depending on your luck on particular auction sites. But this is the Death of Captain America Omnibus, and it is very thin. It's a tiny little book for being $200. It was originally retailed at $65, and it only collects issues 25 through 42. So hardly even, you know, it's 17 issues. It's hardly even just like a 15-page. That's like a deluxe hardcover. I mean, I think there's hardcovers from Marvel that are not Omni that are as thick as this or thicker. So, but I really wanted to have it because the completionist weirdo in me wanted to complete my Captain America Ed Brubaker Omnibus collection, which this completes. I now have them all. I traded away my Uncanny X-Force book for it, which is fine. I actually got the Uncanny X-Force book for a pretty decent deal on eBay before it went like crazy expensive. So, you know, ultimately I was trading something that I wasn't like super down the well for, whatever you want to call it, in the black, red numbers, money, I don't know. Obviously, you can tell about my shelf. I don't know I don't know what to do with my money. Yeah, I'm excited to have this. I have not started reading Brubaker's Captain America, but I love Brubaker, and I love a lot of the artists that worked on this. This is this particular run, I think, is mostly done by Steve Epting, with a couple different artists in there as well. And I am going to do a read-through of the whole Ed Brubaker Cap Omnibus thing. Obviously, I wouldn't collect them if I wasn't going to read them. You know, at least myself personally, that's the way I do it. And I am excited for it. Uncanny X-Force, I had started reading, and I was kind of like, this is okay, but I don't think it's going to be my favorite. You know, I've had that with a lot of Rick Remender stuff, where I kind of see what he's doing, and I think he's fun to follow along, but I don't know if he's ever my favorite writer. So I sort of decided it would be, you know, fine to part with that one, and I could pick it up in an Ultimate Collection or complete collection or whatever it's called, when I get to that in my Modern X-Men readathon, which I think today I've listed 7 readathons so far that I have to start, which I have not even begun to contemplate. So, but this now that I have all together, I am very excited to get through. It would surprise me if we don't see some type of Ed Brubaker Cap reprint. I mean, Marvel's in a weird place where it's like, it's kind of a shitty thing that they're doing, because they have, like, the last 2 volumes, the last 2 Omni volumes, I think, are relatively available. It's like Return of the Winter Soldier and Trial of Captain America. Those are relatively around and not super, super expensive, but nobody wants to buy them because the other ones are not around and are expensive. So if the first 3 Omni are not around, but the last 2 are, then the last 2 are going to sit on a shelf forever, because I think a lot of people missed out on the first 3, and they don't want to have the last 2 without the first 3. So then, now if you say, like, these sit around forever, and people don't care about them, and they're not really collecting them, and they sort of get traded around, and they're not very valuable. But then if you start reprinting the first 3, by that time, the last 2 are probably going to be out of print, and then you've created a whole nother cycle where it's like you start reprinting the first one, that one, like the first one goes down in price, and then the last 2 go up in price because people are now looking for them all of a sudden. And I don't know, it's just a weird thing that they're in. So I hope that we start seeing reprints of this. You know, 5 Omni is like a big line, is a big thing, and especially with some of them, like this Death of Captain America and Captain America Lives are both on the thinner side. So but I'm hopeful. I think it will happen, you know, with the Ed Brubaker Daredevil run being reprinted. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for some of this Cap stuff to get reprinted. So anyways, looking forward to reading this, and eventually, probably years from now, I will give you my opinions on it. But wouldn't hold your breath. These last 2 are pretty cool. One is very rare, and one is not rare at all. But they're sort of tangentially related, at least in my mind. The first one I will show you is this big, huge, ginormic, definitive Flash Gordon and Jungle Jim. I'm trying to get this all in frame. This is from the IDW's line of Library of American Comics, which is a lovely, lovely line of comic strip reprints. I think it's probably my favorite thing that's being reprinted and going on now. Like, I have a lot of love for what Fantagraphics is doing with some of their reprints, but IDW just does such a really amazing and cool job. And this is the Flash Gordon and Jungle Jim's Sunday pages from Alex Raymond from the 30s in their original format, which was that Jungle Jim was on top and then Flash Gordon was the bottom strip. So he did both of these on Sundays. I'm not going to go into this book too in-depthly today, because I'm going to do a review on it eventually. This is volume 1 of the definitive Flash Gordon and Jungle Jim. There are 4 volumes which collect all the Sundays that Raymond did on Flash Gordon and Jungle Jim. This collects June 7th, 1936 through March 5th, 1939. It's really lovely. It is $75 cover price for a pretty big oversized book. It's not quite like an artist edition size, but it's kind of like it emulates the size of the Sunday pages from the 30s. So pretty big. The coloring is really nice. You know, sometimes that stuff is hit and miss, but it looks really lush and beautiful, because, you know, Alex Raymond has this style that, like, when it's colored correctly, kind of comes out as really, like, painterly and really, really gorgeous. So yeah, Flash Gordon, Jungle Jim. I'm way into this kind of stuff. I was at one point collecting the Titan Comics Flash Gordon reprints, but then I realized or discovered that this was available, and despite being, you know, more money, I think this was about like $48, $45, something in that range. I still think it's going to be worth it to have this kind of like completed, full, and awesome definitive library of Alex Raymond stuff from the 30s. So very exciting. And the reason I say it is connected to the other book is because the other book is a Star Wars book. And as many people probably know, I would consider myself to be a Star Wars fan, but not a fanatic, if that makes sense. Like, I love Star Wars, but I'm not somebody who like cosplays or knows trivia about it. So I'm sorry if I'm mistaking some of the things that I'm about to say, but As far as I know, Star Wars was born out of George Lucas's love for Flash Gordon and those kind of comic strip, swashbuckling adventure things. I believe he was trying to get the rights for Flash Gordon and it was tied up and it wouldn't happen, so he created his own universe. And so what I have here is something that I never thought I would own, and I am extremely happy that I did, or that I was able to get it, rather. This is the 3-volume set of the complete Archie Goodwin. Let me see if I can frame it up all right. Archie Goodwin, Al Williamson comic strips, published by Russ Cochran in, I believe, the early 90s, or possibly very late 80s. It is a lovely slipcase with 3 books. They are all black and white comic book reprints. And mostly I got them because of goddamn Al Williamson. I love Al Williamson. He is a phenomenal artist. He did work on Flash Gordon as well in the 60s. He did work on the Marvel Comics Star Wars series. And he also did this daily and Sunday strip stuff. So this is a limited edition box set. There were only 2,500 copies produced ever. Mine is copy, I'm not sure, but I'll look it up for you because it's in this book. These are all signed and numbered by Archie and Al. I'm on first name basis with them. Mine is number 1271, signed by Archie Goodwin and Al Williamson, with introductions by George Lucas and Archie Goodwin and all that good stuff. So the reason I wanted to get these is because I love Al Williamson's art, like I said. Al Williamson was working on the Star Wars comic strip, doing dailies and Sundays. And they're all reprinted here in black and white, which is awesome, because frankly, I would rather see Al Williamson stuff in black and white. Sort of the same thing I feel about a lot of, like, the artists that are kind of like Al Williamson, or at least that I associate with Al Williamson from that time, like, if I think about Frazetta or Wally Wood or Al Williamson or any of those guys, I don't mind their work in color, but I feel like the coloring often kind of takes away from the beauty of the line work that these guys do. So I got this because this is an oversized hardcover collection of all of these comic strips. Now, there are other ways to collect these comic strips. In fact, Dark Horse collected them across a large number of trade paperbacks that I believe are called Classic Star Wars or Star Wars Classic, I think. There were a number of them. And then Marvel, actually, is going to be collecting them soon in Epic Collections. There's going to be Epic Collections in the Star Wars line, which are Marvel's kind of like thick, nice paperback line. There's going to be Epic Collections, which collect this content in, I think it's just called like Star Wars Legacy comic strips or something. It's not like the most fancy name. It's a very on-the-nose name. But the difference is that when Dark Horse did those books, and now when Marvel is reprinting those books are in color, 1, and 2, they actually are redrawn and reformatted. Not redrawn completely, but they're reformatted, the panels are shifted around a little bit, and Al Williamson did draw and change a little bit of things here and there to make it read like a traditional comic book. So the one that Dark Horse put out and the one that Marvel is going to put out is that version, where it's kind of rejiggered a little bit to have an actual comic book look and feel to it and not to look like comic strips. Whereas if you look at this one, it is presented very much in comic strip form, where it'll have just, strip, 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 strip. It'll have like the strips in between, and then there will be a Sunday page. And they're not changed in any way. They're not redrawn or changed. This is the original comic strip style stuff. I'm probably, honestly, going to pick up the Marvel Epic Collection one just to see what they look like in comic book form. But for me, I have no problem reading things in comic strip form. And in fact, I kind of like that, the limitation of having like the 3 panels and sort of seeing what an artist and a writer does in those 3 panels or 4 panels or however it is. So I really don't mind that. And I'm kind of looking forward and interested in reading this as a comic strip and then reading the Sundays as Sunday pages, rather than having a book which configures it all into one smooth reading experience. I'm probably going to get both. And to be quite frank, you know, unless you are a crazy comic book collector and a Star Wars fan, you're probably never going to own this set, which is, you know, shitty because it's cool. It's awesome. I wish there were more copies of it, but it being a limited run from a couple years ago, I mean, I paid a decent amount for it, but it was literally a third of what it goes for online. I got an amazing deal from a gentleman in a comic swap group. So shout out to Mike Noah, thank you. But yeah, it's, you know, it goes for 400 plus online. It's huge, big money. You know, because it's a Star Wars property, because it's Al Williamson, because it's signed and numbered, because it's a comic strip thing, because it's out of print. It has a lot of things stacking up against it, which add value to it in the minds of many collectors. And it's a Russ Cochran thing, and you know, Russ Cochran worked on EC reprints as well as some of the Disney Duck comic reprints. He's just known for doing like high quality hardcover books, and if you have ever seen his EC library books, you'll know that these books look almost identical, like this style of the spine and the bind and everything. It looks almost identical to his EC books, and I think it's almost the exact same size. So I'm very happy that I picked this up. I'm ecstatic that I was able to get it, and I think it's like an amazing collection piece. And something that I'm really excited to read through because Al Williamson is just hits me right in the field, right in the heart of my aesthetic love of comic books. So, and I think I don't know, I think he like did everything on this. I think he wrote and penciled, or I think he not wrote, obviously Archie Goodwin wrote it, but I think he might have lettered and everything too. I mean, it was done by the Al Williamson studio, so I'm sure he had backup people working with him. But yeah. I think this is such an amazing collection. I'm going to read through it eventually and give you a more of like an opinion piece on it. This is just more of an overview of what it is and why I'm excited to own it. But eventually I will read through it and sort of do a comparison probably between this and the Marvel reprints that are coming out soon. So if this sounds interesting to you, if you are into Al Williamson and you're into that kind of time period, I believe this is like sort of early 80s into like mid 80s. I don't actually know particularly what every date is on this. This was published in 1991, but anyway, if you're into this kind of stuff, there will be the Epic collections going on. They are on Amazon listed already, and I think they're going to come out probably like sometime at the beginning of 2017. So there are ways to own this content, and there will be new reprinted ways to own this content in the next 6 months. But in this particular limited hardcover format with, like I said, the comic strips preserved, this is the only way as far as I know. So I'm very jazzed to get it, but I know it is prohibitively expensive and it's much more of a collecting piece than it is like the easiest way to dig into the content. And with that, we end this haul video. Thank you guys so much for watching. There are tons of different video info stuff on my channel about other different hauls, as well as recently I posted a video about our October book club, which is going to be Identity Crisis. We're going to be doing that at the end of October. It should be great. If you are interested in any of that stuff, check out some of the other videos, and I hope you guys have an absolutely lovely day. Tell me what books you're picking up recently. I'm interested. I know a lot of people were getting Master of Kung Fu as well as the Amazing Spider-Man reprint and the Doctor Strange Omni. I imagine that that was like a pretty universal pickup amongst Omni fans like myself. So let me know if there's anything else cool or interesting you've been grabbing, because I'm always looking for new material, especially stuff that, you know, if any of these things that I said sparked interest or different like ideas, please send me recommendations and stuff, because I love to get recommendations through YouTube and then add stuff to the wish list. You know, it's like a big vicious cycle, but I just really love it. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next Nerdventure. As always, thank you guys so very much for tuning in and being part of the Nerdventures channel and community. If you would like to, feel free to click the subscribe link underneath this little pop-up video, where you can get notifications of all the different things, like when we go live for our live stream recordings and book clubs and everything, as well as all the latest videos from me. If you're interested also, you can check out the Patreon link, which I hope is over in that corner and I'm pointing the correct way, where you can see all of the different reward tiers and cool little goodies that you can get for supporting the channel on Patreon. And I would also like to give an infinite thanks to all of those fine gentlemen and ladies who are in the Nerdventures Hall of Fame credits. Thank you so very much. We could not make the channel and the podcast happen without you. Well, we could, but it wouldn't be that great. Well, it would still be great, but it wouldn't be that fun. So thank you so much for tuning in. The community is what makes it all fun, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you have a great one.